are here today to celebrate the marriage of Elizabeth Lambos and Peter Taylor. In honor of the bride's Greek heritage, I would like to start with a quote from perhaps the most famous Greek of all, the poet Homer, who in his epic poem, The Odyssey, wrote, "For nothing is greater or better than this, when two people keep house together, sharing one heart and one mind." My name is Anna, and Elizabeth Lambos, or Liz as I know her, has been one of my best friends since our freshman year in college at the University of Pennsylvania. What struck me about Liz almost as soon as I met her, and which I'm sure many of you who know her will recognize as well, was her vivacious personality, her overwhelming intelligence, and her wicked sense of humor. What some of you might not know about Liz is she is also an amateur improv actor. She loves the Sunday crossword puzzle, and she is a scarily competitive SoulCycle spinner. In fact, her SoulCycle avatar once made an appearance in a GQ article about SoulCycle, where she appeared as Liz Beast. However, Liz is quick to assert that the only cycling she does is stationary and indoors. She also has an interest in craft beer. And in fact, this is where the story of Liz and Pete begins. At a mutual friend's potluck in Brooklyn, Pete describes himself as a beer nerd, and he was very proud to bring to the party two growlers of both Northern Hemisphere harvest and Southern Hemisphere harvest beer. When Liz showed an interest in the two growlers, his attention was immediately piqued. He tells the story like this: "I arrived at the party on time. As I was putting down my backpack, a girl stepped over with her hand outstretched and introduced herself as Liz. I immediately noticed her long hair, attractive smile, and the confident way she had initiated the introduction. As I turned to put my prized beer offering in the fridge, I heard her voice say behind me, 'What's in the growler?' There was some kind of screeching halt to my consciousness as I processed this. Wait, what? She's interested? Sure, she knows where the growler is, but she wants to know what's inside it?" I proceeded to explain how exciting it was that I had procured both Northern and Southern Hemisphere varieties. I probably said way too much about how names reflected the country of origin of the fresh hops used to make the beer, but to my surprise, she was still there when I finished. Not only that, but she wanted to keep talking to me. Liz had me intrigued. On her end, Liz says she noticed right away that Pete was very handsome, and she liked that he had brought rosemary roasted potatoes to the potluck. A recipe he had obtained from his mother, and which he had only burned a little. As they got to talking, their conversation flowed easily as they discussed things they had in common. For example, both of them worked at Banks, and both of them had spent time in Asia. Pete in Vietnam, Liz in China and Hong Kong. In addition to craft beer, Pete loves the outdoors, despite having lived in New York City almost all his life. In college, he led camping and canoeing trips all over the state of Maine. He also describes himself as a builder. As a child, it was Legos and card houses. When camping, it was a tarp to protect him from the elements. And now it's financial models and furnishing their apartment. At the end of that potluck in Brooklyn, Pete says he knew he had to ask Liz out. He started to ask her if she wanted to get Vietnamese food sometime, but before he could finish, Liz beat him to the punch. What followed were many long walks in Prospect Park, several dozen episodes of the show Bob's Burgers, one purchased apartment, and the beginning of a new life together. When I asked Liz and Pete why they wanted to get married, it struck me that both of them mentioned family. Liz told me that one of the things she loves about Pete was his desire to bring her into his family, almost as soon as he met her. After they had gone on only 2 dates, Pete invited Liz to his 30th birthday party and introduced her to his best friends and his parents. And she says he's been a great sport about meeting, as she calls it, her big fat Greek family. As for Pete, he said that for him the wedding was really about bringing their two families together and making a promise to each other in their presence. Which brings us to today. Your two families and many of your friends are here today to witness your vows and to share in your joy. It's worth asking the question, why have a wedding? It's expensive, it's a lot of work, what's the point? Why not just go to the courthouse, sign the paperwork, and get it over with? This is a question I asked myself when I got married 2 years ago, and the answer that I found, and that I truly believe, is that this ritual is important. When you gather together in one space, and when you make a vow to your partner in front of your loved ones, something sacred is created, something ineffable, something that will help sustain you throughout the years to come. And so with that in mind, I would like to ask your loved ones who are gathered here today to affirm your partnership. Will all of you witnessing these vows do everything in your power to uphold Liz and Pete in their marriage? Will you rejoice with them in their blessings, support them in their struggles, and encourage them as they seek to live out the promises they make here today? If you will, please join me in affirming, we will. Great. And now the groom's friend Josh will perform a reading from Ecclesiastes.